Well, hey everybody. Today I'm working on my 4.5 liter Mercruiser V6, my stern drive, 250 horse, but for this it's about the same as the 200. It shouldn't be much different. But I'm changing spark plugs. The engine's got a little over 100 hours on it, and the maintenance requirements in the book say inspect the spark plugs at 100 hours. And I'm actually going to replace them. In some cases you're worried about the cost because these doggone spark plugs, depending on where you buy them, are $8, $10, $12 a piece. And so inspecting is fine. But I'm kind of in the camp right now of, as long as I'm pulling them out, I'm going to put in a fresh set and save the other ones as spares. And in part because you may have seen a video I did a few months ago that I was having trouble with setting a diagnostic, and I needed to replace ignition coil. And while that seemed like it really worked, it seems like something's coming back. So today I'm going to change spark plugs, and while I'm in there I'm going to measure the electrical resistance of the plug wires and see if I've got a bad plug wire. Because something's still creeping in. It's not running real. It's running well at idle, but at under power it'll sometimes give me a problem, and a few days ago it set a code. But anyway, this particular one is, how do we do the spark plugs? I did this some time back on my V8 Mercruiser, on my, it was a small block Chevy GM based V8, and that one was quite a challenge because the the exhaust manifolds get really close to the spark plugs, and you got to have, a really thin wall socket to get in there. I don't know how this one's going to be. I've kind of got my collection of tools, and we'll see what it takes to get them out because I've not done this one before. This particular engine takes these NGK. The book says BPR5 EFS-13. So I got a half a dozen brand new ones down at the auto parts store. Actually, had to order them. They want like a 50 thousandths, I think it was 51 thousandths gap. You want to use one of these round wire type gauges to, let's see, there's 50, and run that guy through the gap and make sure that they just slide through, it's kind of a snug slide through the gap. And if it's too tight, you got little brackets here on the, you want to bend the side electrode. You never want to try to bend the center one or you'll break the porcelain. And some of these are a little bit fragile, so it's a little bit tricky. Some of the tools aren't so robust these days. This one says made in China, and I can bend these little tabs. But in any case, I've been through the set of 6, and I've done them, so they're ready to go in. On this boat, I have to work through the side hatches primarily, and I had to take out one of these panels off of each side to be able to get down and reach the plugs. And before I dig in, when you take the spark plug wires off, you got to be real careful that you don't want to break or damage the wire. So you don't want to pull on the wire to get the boots off. You need to pull on the boot. And sometimes, again, I haven't been on this one yet, but a lot of times it's hard to get your hand in there. And so I have 2 additional tools. This one is from Performance Tool, and it is specifically supposed to be a spark plug boot puller, because you can get down, if you got a spark plug, you could get in there and get below the boot and clamp on it and pull. This one is a fuse puller, and I forget who I got that one from, but it's intended to be mostly a fuse puller, but it also works for helping to pull boots if you get a tough one. But what you want to do, the boots will tend to stick, so you want to go in and twist the boot like at least 90 degrees, work it back and forth, and get it loosened up, and then a lot of times you can pull them with your hand. But the metals, the metal contact gets on this end of this plug pretty tight, so you got to work it and pull it. And as I said, a lot of times in tight quarters, these little tools help. Now when I get to the spark plug wires, I'm going to pull off one wire, and then you go to the back and find which coil it hooks to, and I'm going to disconnect it at the coil end also, and then put my ohm meter on them. There's a spec that says it's supposed to be 2,000 to 8,000 ohms per inch. It's going to be a little bit of a guess because the way the wires are out, I don't know exactly how many inches I've got, but it's going to be kind of, are you close or not, right? If I find one that's crazy way off, then go buy a set of wires. We'll see. But starting with the plugs here, we'll dig in here. So if you get down on the side of the engine, you're going to find the plugs. There's the exhaust manifold on this one, and it comes up high and it starts out down low. This is where the exhaust ports are, down here in the bottom, and it rolls up through here and exhausts out the top. And what you'll find is spark plugs are underneath here. Here's a runner from the exhaust. Here's one, and there's one in the back. These are water hoses that come through. There's the first spark plug, and I can feel back. Number 2 is right here, kind of behind this clamp. That won't make it a whole lot of fun. And then the third one is back here. So I need to pull those wires, and hopefully I don't have to move the clamp, but it's right behind there, so. So there's number 1, there's number 2 kind of behind the clamp, and then the last one is back there. 3 of them on this side, not necessarily by cylinder number, although this one, I believe this one is number 1. So let's see if we can get number 1 out of there. Turn the boot. That wasn't too bad. Pop it off with 2 fingers. That worked okay. Now the trick will be, can I get a standard socket on there? I've got, this one's a, what is it? It's 5/8 standard plug socket. It says power torque on it. Let's see if we can get that on there. Well, that goes easy enough so far. My challenge with the V8 was that as you back the plug out, the socket would start to interfere. So let's see how we do. That breaks loose pretty easy. Let's see if we can roll it out of there all right. It feels okay so far. Well, can't complain about that. And so let's just take a look here at the plug. It's not in perfect condition. It's normally a little bit tan would be okay, would be good. It is kind of interesting that it's whitish on one side and it's pretty dark on the opposite side. And just for the fun of it, let's see what the gap looks like. And the gap on that one is pretty tight, actually. It's down around 45. It's tighter than factory. Okay, let's see if we can get a fresh plug back in there now. You always want to finger start these guys. You want to be sure that they go all the way in and seat by hand. Yeah, it feels good. Okay. I took the rubber element out of there. Well, the rubber element keeps sticking on the spark plug and coming out, so I took it out for the moment. We'll drop that in there. And then the book says to torque these to 124 inch-pounds or 10 Newton meters, or the NGK box says a 1/16 of a turn. These are tapered seats, so they don't have a washer. They go metal to metal and they torque up pretty fast. So I do happen to have, I mean, even Mercury recognizes sometimes it's tight clearance and you can't get anything in there. But I do happen to have a inch-pound, quarter-inch drive torque wrench. And making sure it's centered so you don't break the porcelain. Right there, that's all it takes. I got her set to 124 and we're good. Now before I go on to the next one, I said I was going to check spark plug wires. I've got my meter and it's set for ohms, and I don't know the exact length of the spark plug wire. It's less than 2 feet. I measured, I was kind of scaling it. But let's see what we get here. I have both ends available, so before I put this back on, where'd it go? Come on. Let's see what we get here. We'll put one terminal in here, and we'll put one terminal on the other end. So that looks like 1.8 kilo ohms. That's actually a little to the low side. Yeah, 1.8 or 1800 ohms. And this wire is about there's 6 inches, 12 inches. It isn't as long as I thought. It's about 14 inches. So it's a little to the low side, but that doesn't seem to be out of bounds. Alright, so I'll put it back and move to the next plug. I'm working on the one on number 3 here, the second one back, and now I'm there it goes, that's better. That clamp does kind of get in the way, and this one is similar to number 1. It's got on the dark side, and the rest of it's tan. It's not a bad looking plug. Alright, so let's see if we can sneak this guy back in there. Wiggle it around so that it finds its home. It starts threading. Kind of feels like it, but I'm not so sure. Come on. Stopped solid, so I'll get my fingers in there and see what I can. Yeah, feels like it's down in. Okay. Put the torque wrench on it. Biggest thing is you want to hold the wrench straight so you don't crack the porcelain when you do this. There we go, nice and easy. Now I'm going to check the resistance, so I got to get the coil wire loose. Well, wire number 3 actually came out all the way on me. And I measured it more carefully, and it's like 15 inches. So let's check it here. It's 1.75, almost just like number 1 was. Alright, so that looks good. I'll put that wire back on. And the only other thing of note is when I got the wires out, there's an end with a, this end has a little gusset in it, and the other end doesn't. And it looks like this end goes on the plug with the gusset, and the one without goes on the coil, or so it appears. Anyway, let me put these back. So let's get this number 3 back on the plug. Come on. A little tricky, but snap on. That's good. Okay. So we got that one. And then it needs to, I still need to get it up there onto the coil, but I'll do that in a second. Alright, let's see if we can get number 5 out of there. Okay, well there's number 5. I'm going to find it here. There we go. There we go. And that one looks a little better. It's still got a little bit of that. It's sort of like the side electrode shades part of the center electrode. So it doesn't get quite as much flame around there. Pretty consistent. Go. Torqued up. Alright, for number 5, this one was a little tricky, right? I actually had to go remove the coil. 2.1 kiloohms. I don't know exactly how long this wire is, but that seems pretty close. Alright, so we'll pop that wire back on. It is nice that Mercury has these numbered. Still a little hard to get manipulated in place. Come on. There it goes. Snaps on. Good. And one thing to remember when doing this stuff is make sure you got the battery pulled, or in my case, I know I don't have the battery pulled, but I have the I have a master disconnect switch that kills the battery power, and so I take that all down before I work on this stuff. Well, now we'll be working on plugs on the other side. When we were talking about the coils, if you come to the top of the engine, and then I had to take off the flame arrestor, down underneath here, underneath the 12-volt power, here's one of the coils, and it mounts back here, and then the other two mount down, straight down on this side, on the right down in there. So they're kind of tricky. You got to lay on top of the engine to get down to them. Alright, so let's try number 2 over here. Rotate the daylights out of it. Slide it back and forth. Try and give it a yank. There it goes. Okay. Gotta just find it. There we go. Alright. Pretty much consistent with the other ones. Feels like it made it. All the way in there. Yep, it's down in. Okay. It's going to be hard to get the meter in the right place, so I'm just going to measure it and tell you. Alright, my reading is 2.3 kiloohms. Again, pretty consistent with all the others. So that looks alright. Sneak that one down, get it back on the plug. There it goes. Didn't want to go on. Now it is. Alright. Here comes number 4. There we go. And that plug matches all the others. Slide this guy in there. Finger started here. Let it run in until she touches. Okay, that's good. She's kind of centered up here. That's good. Alright, let's get a measurement here on number 4. And this one's probably a little bit longer because it goes to the other side. It's reading 2.9 kiloohms. Still in band. Alright, let's plug this one back in. Find everything by feel, though. Come on. These center ones are the toughest. There goes, snapped on. Number 6. Plug looks just like all the others. See, it spins real nice and easy once you get threads going. And then stops. I'll back it up and stop again. Yep, nice and smooth on the end. Torque wrench on it here. Try and hold it. There we go. And I want to check the resistance on that wire. Okay, so if I get number 6 here, we'll put a probe in it. tie number 6 up here on top. I got it pulled off of the coil. And it reads 2.3 kiloohms. Alright, so that's a couple hours of standing on my head. These things are never easy, but I have to say this engine's easier than my V8. I don't know what the variation is from engine to engine and whether some of those plugs are tighter to the exhaust manifold, but this was a whole lot easier than me doing my V8. The tough part for it was that I decided to check the wires for resistance, and they all look like they're fine. But to get the other end of the wire, the coils are all down on the back. And I'll still probably be back because I'm still not sure I've got this. I set another code for a coil or ignition system, and I got to dig in and try to figure out if I've got another bad coil, or if the last time I did it somehow it spontaneously cured itself and I really didn't get the right coil out of it. So that's enough for now, but that's how you change the plugs and check the wires on one of these 4.5 Mercruiser stern drives. Well, I did take it out on the water, and maybe I've had some success. We'll see. I wouldn't have thought this engine to be that sensitive to spark plugs, but so I checked the wires, the plugs. I went back and checked the coils after I finished the video, just make sure everything was plugged in tight, rechecked the resistance on them, the wires, all that. But the main thing was I changed the plugs. And I just came back off the water. I ran about 5 or 6 miles on the power. Started at about 3,000 RPM, and because that's about where it would start breaking up before. It was a little above 3,000. So it's like I ran 3,000, 3,500, 4, just bumped it up about 500 RPM increments, and made about 2 or 3 miles at wide open at, around 5,000 RPM, 49 to 51. And running a little over 50 miles an hour, and 2 days ago it wouldn't do that. It was setting the ignition code, and it just you knew there was a problem without setting the code, because it would it probably wouldn't get over 4,000 RPM. I think it was dropping 2 cylinders out, at least 1 if not 2, since the coils are paired, but it was definitely down on power, and today it's as good as it's ever run. So we shall see. I will count it as a temporary victory and see if the problem comes back. But it was time to inspect the plugs. I'm glad I replaced them. I think it's was a good thing to do. Technically, I wasn't supposed to have to replace them for another couple of 100 hours, but I'm going to go take a hard look at them and see if maybe there's one that's cracked or got some other defect that I couldn't tell. So anyhow, project's done for now. That's it for today.